Commander Zextal stood motionless before the quantum observation screen, all four of his crystalline eyes fixed on the images floating before him. As Supreme Commander of the Archean Expeditionary Force, he had witnessed countless civilizations, but none had ever caused him to violate protocol. Until now. "Computer, replay sequence 47. He commanded, his voice barely above a whisper in the darkness of his private chambers aboard the Archean flagship Eternal Logic. The scene materialized again. Human soldiers rushing into a burning building in what their broadcasts called downtown Chicago. According to all logic, the structure was destined to collapse. The humans knew this. Their primitive scanning devices had told them as much. Yet they went in anyway. "Magnify Sector 3, Zextal ordered. The image zoomed in on a particular soldier who had already rescued 2 civilians. The human's vital signs showed extreme stress, dehydration, and approaching exhaustion. Despite this, when cries emerged from the 9th floor, the soldier didn't hesitate. They simply adjusted their breathing apparatus and plunged back into the inferno. Zextal's outer membrane rippled with forbidden emotion. In Archean society, such actions would be classified as gross inefficiency at best, mental instability at worst. They had evolved beyond such primitive impulses eons ago. Their military doctrine was built on pure logic: maximize tactical advantage, minimize resource expenditure, calculate acceptable losses with mathematical precision. But as he watched the human soldier emerge with a small crying creature, what they called a cat, Zextal felt something he hadn't experienced since his early development stages: doubt. "Computer, access historical database. Show me more instances of human military response to civilian emergencies." The quantum screen flickered, displaying hundreds of incidents across their planet. Soldiers wading through floodwaters in something called Louisiana. Military units distributing supplies in a place designated Haiti. Armed forces working alongside civilian emergency services during what they termed natural disasters. A soft chime interrupted his observations. "Commander," his second-in-command's voice emerged from the ship's communication system. "The High Council awaits your preliminary report on primitive world designation, Sol 3. Zextal's outer membrane stiffened. Protocol dictated he report everything he'd observed. The humans' illogical behavior, their inefficient allocation of military resources, their primitive emotional responses. Such a report would trigger the standard response: immediate classification as a candidate for upliftment, the process by which the Archeans would help younger species evolve beyond their emotional limitations. His gaze returned to the screen, where the human soldier was now receiving emergency medical treatment while simultaneously trying to direct rescue teams to other potential survivors. The human's actions defied every principle of Archean logic, yet something about it resonated with a part of himself he thought had been educated out of him centuries ago. "Commander," the voice prompted again. "Inform the Council that preliminary observations are inconclusive," Zextal replied. "Additional study is required before filing a formal report." "Inconclusive. Commander, with respect, the protocols for primitive world assessment are quite clear. Are you questioning my judgment, Sub-Commander?" Zextal's voice carried just enough edge to remind his subordinate of their respective positions. "No, Commander. I will inform the Council immediately." As the communication ended, Zextal initiated his private log. Initial assessment of species 47,892, designation human, reveals significant anomalies requiring extensive further study. Their military forces operate under principles that appear inefficient by our standards, yet achieve results that merit deeper investigation. Most notably, their integration of emotional response patterns with tactical decision-making suggests a hybrid approach that our own analyses may have overlooked. He paused, watching as the screen showed the human soldier finally accepting medical treatment, still giving instructions about other potential survivors. Personal notation: for the first time in my 3 centuries of service, I find myself questioning whether our definition of efficiency requires revision. Zextal knew he was stepping onto a dangerous path. The Arxian military didn't look kindly on commanders who asked questions instead of following protocols. But as he continued to watch the humans, he couldn't shake the feeling that his civilization had overlooked something fundamental in their relentless pursuit of logical perfection. Computer, begin continuous monitoring of all human military activities. Classify under personal research protocol. Maximum security clearance. He hesitated for a moment before adding, and download all available historical data on human military responses to civilian crises. I need to understand everything. 3 standard cycles had passed since Commander Zextal began his unauthorized study of humanity, and each day brought new revelations that shattered his understanding of military efficiency. Today, he stood in his secure observation chamber, watching a scene unfold that would forever change his perspective on warfare itself. The quantum screen displayed a massive military exercise taking place in what humans called the Pacific Ocean. But unlike the strict, segregated drills of the Arxian fleet, this was something entirely different. Vessels from multiple human nations moved in concert, their crews intermixed, sharing knowledge and techniques despite their different languages and cultures. Magnify Grid Sector 7, Zextal commanded. The image zoomed in on the deck of an aircraft carrier, where soldiers from different nations were conducting joint rescue operations. A helicopter had just returned from a simulated disaster scenario, and the mixed crew was working together seamlessly, communicating through a combination of words, gestures, and what appeared to be shared understanding. His private log chimed with an alert. The daily data analysis he'd requested was complete. Computer, display findings. The statistics materialized before him. Human military forces spent approximately 60% of their active deployment time on non-combat operations. Disaster relief, humanitarian aid, peacekeeping missions, civilian infrastructure support. The numbers defied everything he'd been taught about military efficiency. A sudden alert interrupted his contemplation. Commander, his second-in-command's voice carried an unusual edge of urgency. High Command has scheduled an emergency session. They're questioning the delay in your final report about Earth. Zextal's outer membrane rippled with concern. He'd managed to delay his official assessment for 3 cycles through various bureaucratic maneuvers, but he knew he couldn't maintain the deception forever. Acknowledged. Inform them I'll. The alert sirens cut him off. Emergency signals flashed across his screens as the quantum sensors detected a massive geological event on Earth. What humans called an earthquake had struck a densely populated coastal region. For the next 12 hours, Zextal watched transfixed as human military forces from across their planet mobilized. Their response defied every principle of Arxian tactical doctrine. Nations that his intelligence suggested were political rivals sent aid without hesitation. Military units trained for combat transformed instantly into rescue operations. Soldiers worked beyond exhaustion, risking their lives to save civilians they'd never met. Computer, analyze tactical efficiency of human response patterns, he ordered. Analysis complete, the artificial intelligence responded. By Arxian military standards, current human deployment patterns rate as severely suboptimal. Resource allocation exceeds recommended parameters by 47%. Personnel risk factors exceed acceptable levels by 89%. Emotional decision-making detected in 94% of command decisions. And yet, Zextal whispered, "Look at what they achieve." His screens showed the results. Thousands saved, communities preserved, order maintained not through force, but through cooperation and shared purpose. The humans weren't just surviving. They were demonstrating a form of strength his civilization had forgotten was possible. The communication system chimed again. Commander, his second-in-command sounded even more nervous now. High Command is insistent. They require your presence for an emergency briefing in 2 hours. They're speaking of implementing Protocol 7 Alpha for Earth. Zextal's entire body went rigid. Protocol 7 Alpha. the procedure for correcting civilizations deemed too emotionally unstable to join the galactic community. He had overseen such operations before, always believing he was helping younger species evolve. But now, "Computer, save all observation data to my private quantum core," he ordered. "Encrypt under personal authorization code Zextal Prime." He watched the screens one last time. A human soldier was carrying an elderly civilian through floodwaters, while another provided medical aid to an injured animal. In that moment, Zextal realized he faced a choice that would define not just his career, but his understanding of what true strength meant. "Sub-Commander," he finally responded, "inform High Command that I—" He paused, watching as more rescue operations unfolded before him. "Tell them I will present my findings personally." But as he prepared for the briefing, Zextal knew he would not be delivering the report High Command expected. He had witnessed something on Earth that changed everything. Not weakness masquerading as compassion, as his training would suggest, but a form of strength his civilization had sacrificed in its pursuit of cold efficiency. The halls of the Arxian High Command were designed to intimidate. Crystal spires stretched upward into darkness, their surfaces reflecting the cold blue light that characterized their civilization's aesthetics. Commander Zextal stood before the Council of Nine, his outer membrane maintaining perfect stillness despite the turmoil within. "Commander," the first speaker's voice resonated through the chamber, "explain your continued delay in implementing Protocol 7 Alpha for the Earth system." Zextal gestured, and his archived observations appeared in the air before the council. "Honored speakers, my research suggests that humanity requires further study before we proceed with any intervention." "Study." The third speaker's tone carried carefully measured disapproval. "Your assignment was to catalog their primitive warfare methods for optimal correction during the upliftment process. Instead, you've spent 3 cycles collecting data on their emergency response protocols. Because their emergency responses reveal something crucial about their military doctrine," Zextal countered. "Humanity has achieved something we never considered possible. They've integrated emotional decision-making with tactical efficiency in ways that—" "Emotional decision-making is precisely why they require correction," the first speaker interrupted. "We have detected 17 potential armed conflicts brewing on their planet. Their primitive attachments to territory, ideology, and tribal loyalty make them a danger to themselves and eventually to others." Zextal advanced his presentation to show the international rescue operation he'd witnessed. Yet these same primitive attachments enable them to transcend their conflicts when faced with greater challenges. Their emotional capacity doesn't weaken their military effectiveness, it enhances it. The seventh speaker leaned forward. "Commander, your fascination with human behavior patterns is beginning to concern us. Perhaps you require a period of psychological recalibration." Before that, the first speaker interjected, "You will release your complete observation data for analysis. The upliftment fleet stands ready. Earth's integration into the galactic community can no longer be delayed." Zextal's inner core went cold. Integration was the euphemism they always used. In reality, the process would systematically strip humanity of the very qualities that made them unique. He had overseen such operations before, but now, "I request access to the complete Protocol 7 Alpha implementation plans," he said carefully. The council exchanged looks before authorizing his access. As the data flowed into his neural interface, Zextal fought to maintain his composure. The upliftment process was far worse than even he had known. The Arxians planned to introduce an engineered virus that would gradually dampen human emotional responses, making them more logical and efficient, more like the Arxians themselves. They meant to destroy everything that made humanity special, all in the name of progress. "Commander," the first speaker prompted, "you understand what must be done." Zextal straightened to his full height. "Yes," he said quietly, "I finally do." In one fluid motion, he activated his emergency quantum transmitter, broadcasting his entire observation database to every major military command center on Earth. The council chamber erupted in chaos. "Security breach," the seventh speaker shouted. "Contain him." But Zextal was already moving. As the chamber's defense systems activated, he triggered the emergency teleporter he'd secretly installed in his neural interface days ago. A primitive human concept of having a backup plan that his own people would have dismissed as inefficient. The last thing he heard before the quantum field enveloped him was the first speaker's outraged cry, "Find him. Earth must not be warned." Zextal materialized in his private chamber aboard the Eternal Logic. His mandibles flew across the control surfaces as he initiated the series of commands he'd prepared for this moment. First, a quantum virus that would scramble his ship's tracking systems. Next, a cascade failure in the fleet's communication network that would buy him precious hours. "Computer," he commanded, "set course for Earth orbital insertion. Maximum speed." As his ship broke formation, alarms began blaring across the Arxian fleet. He knew what he was giving up: his position, his society, everything he had ever known. But he had seen something on Earth worth preserving, something his own civilization had forgotten. The strength that comes from embracing emotion rather than rejecting it. The power of fighting for something beyond mere logical efficiency. As his ship accelerated toward the blue planet ahead, Zextal began composing the message he would send to Earth's military leaders. He had to make them understand both the threat they faced and why he had chosen to stand with them. The Arxian fleet would be coming soon. But this time, they would face something they had never encountered before. A humanity prepared for them, guided by one of their own who had learned that true strength lies not in the rejection of emotion, but in its embrace. "Target the unknown vessel and prepare to fire on my command." General Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, her eyes fixed on the alien ship that had suddenly appeared in low Earth orbit. The quantum data burst they'd received hours ago was still being decrypted, but its source was clear: the same ship now attempting to establish communication. "General," her AI assistant reported, "the vessel's weapon systems are powered down. They're broadcasting on all frequencies in multiple human languages. Put it through." The alien's image appeared on the main screen. Its crystalline form and multiple eyes were unlike anything in humanity's first contact protocols, but there was something almost familiar in its posture, the stance of a soldier delivering a difficult report. "I am Commander Zextal, formerly of the Arxian Expeditionary Force." The alien's translated voice emerged clearly. "I come with a warning and an offer of assistance. My civilization plans to uplift humanity, to strip you of the very qualities that make you unique. I have chosen to stand against this." General Chen's expression remained neutral, but her mind raced. "You'll understand if we're skeptical, Commander. Why would an alien officer betray his own people?" "Because I have watched you." Zextal's outer membrane rippled with what the translation software identified as emotion. "For 3 cycles, what you call months, I have observed your military forces. I expected to find primitive warriors. Instead, I found something my civilization has forgotten." The alien transmitted a series of recordings. Human military units responding to natural disasters, soldiers risking their lives to save civilians, international forces working together in humanitarian missions. "My people believe emotion makes you weak," Zextal continued. "They are wrong. Your capacity to feel, to care, to sacrifice for others, it gives you strength we can barely comprehend." Warning signals suddenly flashed across the command center screens. "General," her tactical officer called out, "we're detecting multiple meteorological anomalies over the Pacific. Category 5 hurricane forming out of nowhere." Chen watched as Zextal's posture shifted. "Weather control technology," he explained. "A favorite Arxian tactic. They're testing your response patterns. Let me help." For the next 72 hours, Chen watched as the alien commander worked alongside her staff, combining his advanced technical knowledge with their tactical experience. His insights into Arxian technology helped them disperse the artificial hurricanes before they could make landfall. More importantly, he showed them how to detect and counter the subtle quantum signatures that marked Arxian surveillance. But it was what happened during the crisis that truly caught Chen's attention. Zextal didn't just provide technical assistance, he learned. He asked questions about their emergency response protocols, studied how human commanders balanced tactical necessity with humanitarian concerns, and showed genuine fascination with their decision-making processes. "Your approach defies everything I was taught," he admitted during a brief rest period. "In Arxian doctrine, we would have evacuated the most valuable population centers and accepted losses in outlying areas as tactically necessary. But you try to save everyone." "Not try," Chen corrected him. "Do. That's the difference you're struggling to understand, Commander. When human soldiers go into a crisis zone, they don't calculate acceptable losses. They go in believing they can save everyone. And that belief itself changes what's possible." The alien's outer membrane rippled in what she was learning to recognize as deep thought. "This is why I had to warn you," he said finally. "The Arxian upliftment process. It would destroy this aspect of your nature. They believe they would be improving you, making you more like them. More logical, more efficient, more controllable," Chen suggested. "Yes." Zextal's agreement was immediate, though they would never admit that, even to themselves. He turned to face her fully. "General, you still have no reason to trust me. I have abandoned my post, betrayed my civilization, violated every oath I ever took. By my own people's standards, I am behaving illogically, emotionally, like a human." Chen smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "Funny thing about that, Commander. Those human qualities you're starting to display, they're exactly why I'm beginning to trust you." Their conversation was interrupted by new alarm signals. The quantum detection grid was lighting up with massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. "The Arxian fleet," Zextal confirmed grimly. "They're coming to save humanity from itself. We have perhaps 48 hours before they arrive." He straightened to his full height. "General, I offer my complete knowledge of Arxian military tactics and technology. Not just to help you survive, but to help you win. To prove that emotion isn't weakness, it's humanity's greatest strength." Chen studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Welcome to Earth's Defense Forces, Commander Zextal. Now let's show your former colleagues exactly what human military efficiency looks like." As they turned to begin preparations, both the human general and the alien commander knew they were about to make history. The question was, would it be the history of humanity's greatest victory, or its last stand? The Arxian battle fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect formation, 117 ships arranged in geometric precision. On Earth's main defense command screen, they looked like a constellation of artificial stars. Tactically flawless, Zextal observed from his position beside General Chen. And completely predictable. The past 48 hours had transformed Earth's defenses. Using Zextal's knowledge, they had modified their quantum detection systems, adapted their shields, and prepared countermeasures against Arxian technology. But their greatest advantage wasn't technological. "All commands, execute Operation Chaos," Chen ordered. Across Earth's orbit, defensive platforms suddenly shifted positions, not in illogical patterns the Arxians would expect, but in seemingly random movements guided by human intuition and creativity. The Arxian fleet's first salvos passed harmlessly through empty space. "They're broadcasting," the communications officer announced. The first speaker's image appeared on the main screen. "Primitive species of Earth, we come to uplift you beyond your emotional limitations. Your resistance is illogical. Commander Zextal, your behavior pattern will be corrected. Surrender now." Chen nodded to Zextal, who stepped forward. "Honored speaker, humanity doesn't need correction. While you watched their wars and saw only primitive violence, I watched their responses to crisis and saw strength you've forgotten existed." "Irrelevant," the speaker dismissed. "Commence the upliftment protocol." The Archean fleet launched clouds of quantum-engineered viral particles designed to dampen human emotional responses. But Earth's forces were ready. Specialized electromagnetic pulses, developed using Zextal's insights and human ingenuity, neutralized the viral clouds. What followed was unlike any battle in Archean military history. Earth's forces fought with a combination of tactical precision and creative improvisation that baffled their logically minded opponents. Ships performed maneuvers that Archean combat computers dismissed as irrational, until those same maneuvers resulted in shield breaches. Human pilots relied on instinct and emotion as much as training, making them essentially unpredictable to Archean targeting systems. Impossible, the first speaker declared as another formation of his ships was disrupted. Their tactical patterns defy all logical combat algorithms. That's the point, Chen responded. You see emotion as a weakness to be eliminated. We see it as a strength to be embraced. You fight with pure logic. We fight with our whole selves. The battle reached its climax when Earth's forces executed their masterstroke. While the Archeans were focused on a chaotic space battle, teams of human engineers, guided by Zextal's knowledge, had reprogrammed the quantum field generators that powered the Archean fleet's weapons. The entire fleet suddenly found itself unable to fire. A surrender terms package has been transmitted to your command ship, Chen informed the first speaker. I suggest you read it carefully. Humanity is willing to establish diplomatic relations with the Archean civilization, but as equals, not as subjects to be uplifted. The speaker's crystalline features registered what might have been shock. You would show mercy after we attempted to alter your very nature. This is illogical. No, Zextal corrected his former leader. This is humanity. They fight with incredible strength, not despite their emotions, but because of them. Their capacity for mercy doesn't make them weak. It makes them stronger than we ever imagined. Hours later, as the Archean fleet retreated under the terms of Earth's surprisingly generous peace agreement, Zextal stood in the observation dome of Earth's orbital command station. Below him, the blue planet turned serenely. Having second thoughts, General Chen asked, joining him at the viewport. No, he replied. For the first time in my existence, I believe I'm thinking clearly. My people thought they could perfect yours by removing emotion from the equation. Instead, you've shown us a better way, one that integrates logic and feeling into something greater than either alone. And now you get to help us build that future. Chen smiled. The Council has approved your request for permanent residence on Earth. There's a whole team of military strategists eager to learn from you and teach you in return. Zextal's outer membrane rippled with what he now recognized as joy. He had come to warn humanity about a threat to their emotional nature, only to find that those same emotions had given them a strength his own civilization had forgotten was possible. As he watched the sun rise over Earth's horizon, Zextal knew he had found something his logical upbringing had never prepared him for, a home where both his rational mind and his awakening heart could flourish. The age of pure logic was ending. The age of integrated strength, of humanity's gift to the galaxy, was just beginning.